All right, everybody, we're back. HSC Podcast 171. We are in a weekly movie review. Just finished up our NFL picks. So if you didn't see that, go back, check it out in previous podcasts there. But we've been talking about this for a while and I don't think there's anything specific, but we just hadn't got into a lot of different actresses for our weekly movie reviews. And so it was kind of nice to kind of focus towards that and say, what are a couple actresses? We talked back and forth about a few. You had mentioned Cameron Diaz, which I thought was one of the perfect ones because of the variety, of movies that she's in and the time stretch. She's got a nice long time stretch to work with of different styles, and you get to see a little bit of even how Hollywood changes, to the movies. So this week got Cameron Diaz movies. We got three of them, and then we'll talk a little bit about her career in general. Any Before we jump into the movies themselves, what's some specifics about Cameron Diaz herself as an actress, as a performer? What do you notice from her over not just these movies, but her career, things like that? What makes her good?
Well, at first, when she started with the mask, she came out as like a sex symbol. Like she was like, wow, that's like she's amazing. And then you get movies like something about Mary and everything like that. And then even on further, then you're like, oh, she's got really great comedic timing.
She's funny, right?
Yes. And then you got movies like two of the movies we're talking about where she shows off like her emotions and drama.
Right.
And so I think doesn't get the Meryl Streep or because she does lots of the rom-com type movies, but Cameron Diaz does have lots of range.
You see that in the movies that we're going to highlight here of hers as well, right? So you're going to see a lot of range if you go back and check these movies out. But in general, you're right. Like when you look at her career and you in different movies she's done, range is definitely one of the first things you see. Her ability to adapt to characters is really really good too because it almost feels like she was gonna be typecast, like you were saying, but was able to come out of that box and really can capture almost any role that she's played, and do a pretty good job. And I was a little disappointed because I was gonna say Any Given Sunday, but I was 100% that Wes was gonna pick Any Given Sunday. Um, I mean, obviously we have the podcast and their NFL picks, and you have Cameron Diaz in one of a great football movie, and we missed that one. So, but we got three great movies. So let's start with we might as well start with Wes's movie since he's not here. So he picked the what's this 98,
99.
99. Being John Malkovich is the movie, and I will admit we're doing two movies this week that I hadn't seen, and that's really rare for any of our reviews or just in general when you throw up popular movies by most actors. So there was a lot for me to take in when watching these two movies, but the Being John Malkovich is it's such a weird but in-depth like plot. There's so much happening. And I guess we'll just give the overview of it. They You have John Cusack. We'll just give a high level. He gets a job, and where his job is, they find a room, a door, which then is a portal to John Malkovich's mind, and you can go in the portal, and you get to be or see, and at some point even control John Malkovich. So that's got to be the weirdest plot that I've ever heard.
Well, it gets weirder though.
Yeah, I mean, give us some highlights of the how it. how what can you get out of that plot?
Well, you had John Cusack's character, Craig Schwartz. He's married to Cameron Diaz's character, Lot Schwartz, but he has a crush on one of his coworkers, Catherine Keener. And then there's some sort of love triangle goes on because then Cameron Diaz goes in to John Malkovich. Then she realizes I want to be a man now. And she has a thing for Catherine Keener, but Catherine Keener only has, she really just wants to be with John Malkovich.
But Cameron Diaz as John Malkovich,
Yes.
which that's where it gets so weird. But it's also, I mean, it makes sense because when in the movie itself, like they actually do a pretty good job of Catherine Keener. She actually explains why she likes her inside John Malkovich because it's still the manly part, but you know she gets the feminine side of that. But what a weird love triangle, right?
Right. Well, and then Cusack's character is a puppeteer. So then he figures out how to control Malkovich. And
I
and just
love how they
having,
wait. They got to make him a puppeteer so he can control John. You couldn't have just given him some other job and just said he figured it out. You had to make him a puppeteer.
well, then I love like Malkovich then starts talking to Charlie Sheen. He's like, um, yeah.
Yeah, the little Charlie Sheen cameo was great, actually. I love that. And then like the later look at Charlie Sheen's really funny too. John Cusack's character is wild, first of all. So yeah, he's a puppeteer, which first of all is weird that like you're gonna make your life's work puppeteering. But then he's like doing these weird puppet shows and you know, out on the streets doing puppet shows. And then he's like he has his own workshop where he makes his own puppets and kind of lives his life through that. So that whole it kind of makes him seem a little crazy, especially like when he goes crazy, you know, after he finds out what his wife and the woman he likes at work are doing. A very very strange movie though. So overall, what are your thoughts? Like how
Well, like
watchable?
you, this is one that I never saw, but I wanted to see. And now that I've seen it, I'm like, okay, I've seen it. And it's fascinating, but I'm not going to watch it again. But
No,
it is a great movie about like the acting is phenomenal in this movie. And the
there
story
is.
is interesting, but it's not something I'm going to keep watching, but it's fascinating.
Well, first of all, like there's a couple things in the movie that the 7.5 floor that he's working in, I get uncomfortable watching them like in that small space.
Yeah.
Like I've worked in offices and things like that, and so just watching them working in a half floor because it's just that's just weird in general, right? They're like we're on the 7.5 floor and it's really like a half of a floor, right? So that whole thing just makes me uncomfortable. But it's things like that in the movie, or like Cameron Diaz is I think she's either a vet or some kind of animal doctor, right? Not sure what she is, but there's animals all over their house. And
Yeah.
like they have cages and animals running around and that whole thing too. It's also man, I don't have a lot of anxiety, but the movie gave me a little bit of anxiety. But what a weird story. I thought Malkovich did a great job. Uh, there are some points where he's playing other people inside of him, and just man, he's good. I just got to say that for him, and that must have been incredibly hard role.
And just what a crazy story to think of, too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know who thought of that.
But that's the thing is like nowadays we get our retreads and remakes and all this, and it's like we don't have original stories like this.
No, this is as original as it gets. Yeah, somebody went down literally in the mind of John Malkovich. It's worth the watch though one time. I agree with you on that, right? It's again, it's something that I've always too said, man, I should actually watch that. And now that I have, that's enough. But good movie, good pick there. Since we're Cameron Diaz though, I thought she did a really good job of capturing her role of a little bit crazy, but you know, at the beginning you can tell that she's wanting some type of family life with him with John Cusack, but he doesn't really want it. You can tell that too. But then now that she doesn't want it, everything goes wrong. But and she plays into that role really well. I actually think she might have something in her life. If you look at all these movies that like she's either cheating or getting cheated on or all this stuff,
Right.
it's like everything she does, somebody's cheating. So I thought that's pretty funny about her.
Is that a segue? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, it doesn't matter what movie you're talking about. They all do that. But yeah, let's jump into the movie I picked, which was The Other Woman. This is a later career film for her, 2014, but pairs her with Leslie Mann, who is one of my absolute favorites. And then Kate Upton, nothing wrong with a movie with Kate Upton in it. So I picked this one for a couple reasons. Number one is I have seen this once before, so it was definitely nice to revisit it. And I also wanted to be later in her career, so we get some Cameron Diaz, after you're talking about 20 years later than one of the other films, and 15 years later than the one we just talked about. But this is a good movie for her because she gets to play, I think, a lot of her natural energy in this movie of the way she is in real life. The movie's about her. She's an attorney in Manhattan and she starts dating this guy and things go really well. And she finds out the guy's married. Like, who hasn't heard this story play out before? But Leslie Mann is the woman, the wife of the guy, and she just really brings the movie together because she's so off the wall but funny and wears her emotions on her sleeve as an actress. And then they become friends, and then they find out that he's actually cheating on both of them again with another woman who happens to be Kate Upton. And obviously at that time in 2014, Kate was, you know, off the charts, when it comes to swimsuit edition, Sports Illustrated, and uh, she wasn't your typical uh, model. As far as she's a little thicker and just really was a part of a movement there, and so she was popular at that point. And she happens to be the younger mistress come in as well. And so there's a lot of funny movie parts to it, and they getting back at the guy, and it is that typical, comedy, and then there's romance in it, and where Cameron Diaz's character goes and meets up with Leslie Mann's brother and things like that. But the whole movie, it's fun, it's funny, and I love her role in it. I love how she played that like the lawyer role. I think she really nailed it. And so it's great. It's a good watch.
Yeah, and then the Kingslayer, he's the one cheating on all of them. I can't pronounce his name, but like Nikolaj Coster-Waldau
Yeah.
from Game of Thrones, he was Jamie. Um, and just how ridiculous that is like you think you're the other woman, And then there's another other woman. Um, and then Don Johnson as her dad.
Yeah, I love Don Johnson in the movie too. And then because he ends up dating Kate Upton later.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's a cute, funny you know, it's a it's a nice revenge tale with a rom-com kicked into it together for me. And it is kind of you're right though with because I do love Leslie Mann and she kind of plays some neurotic to her. And then to pair her with Cameron Diaz, who's like the attorney and like the women's scorn, and then you get Kate Upton in there, so it's kind of a nice little twist.
Yeah, the trio of them worked really well together, right? To create that the scorned women, right? The three of them all had things that were needed to create the group. But I just love Leslie Mann. She's just so funny throughout the whole movie. Because it's all there's a lot of one-liners and or just little situations that happens. And just the way she plays the character, you're like, man, Leslie Mann really nailed it. And you're right, though. Cameron Diaz nails the other part too. So they all really hit their parts really well. Even the guy that played Mark, the cheater, he's so good up to the point where like it all falls apart for him. But up to that point, man, that guy's killing it.
Well, yeah, because then it was also with Olivia Culpa also.
Right. And of course, you throw in a little Minaj in there as the assistant. That was
Yeah.
funny. But overall, it's not, this isn't the deep rooted, great plot, stellar. I mean, the acting's good, but it's not like you're like, oh man, this is Gone with the Wind, you know. But it's a fun movie. It's fun to watch, and I really liked seeing this later in Cameron Diaz's career because she almost felt like the not just the lead actress, but like the mothering actor, right? Like in control of the set. So that was great for her there. All right, well, movie number three. This one's yours. 1995 film. Again, film I hadn't seen. And don't confuse it with The Last Supper 2025, which I did.
Well, that's funny. I confused the other woman. It said it was on this one station, so I go to it and I'm like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Is some fan like or like?" And I'm like, "No, that's not it." Where's
Right.
Diaz?
Where's Cameron? Oh, that's what happened with the 2025 Last Supper. I was like, there's no Cameron Diaz in this. But yeah, so 1995, The Last Supper.
So, a bit about my history. Back in the day, I used to go to Hollywood Video and just peruse and just pick movies that I'm like, oh, this looks interesting, because that's what you could do back then. And there was tons of independent movies out there that you could just go and find. And this is one I stumbled across, and it always has sat with me. And I'm like, because it's such a unique twist on things. So you have Jude, Pete, Paulie, Mark, and Luke. So they all have biblical apostle names.
Right,
They're all graduate school students, all liberal arts. Mark is a painter, Pete is a law student, Paulie is studying social work, Jude is psychology, and Luke is trying to get his doctorate in political science. So basically, the story goes you have dinners once a week all together. And for this week, it was what's Pete, his car broke down, and so he got help. And it was Bill Paxton's character, who was a war vet, who was also a um, Holocaust denier. And so they have dinner and they're trying to discuss with him, and stuff happens and he accidentally gets killed. And that is when um, Luke comes up with the thing is we should have these ultra conservative Republican, different types, come for dinner and see if we can convince them to the error of their ways. And if we can't, we'll kill them. And
Oh
so
man.
you go through, and it's a plethora of actors too. I mean, you have Mark Harmon, Jason Alexander, Charles Durning, all coming in. You have you have a priest that doesn't believe in gay people. You have Mark Harmon's character doesn't believe in rape or date rape. He doesn't believe in date rape.
He's just a
Jason
dominant male,
Alexander's
right?
Yeah, Jason Alexander's character doesn't believe in the environment. It's And so one by one they're all doing that. And then that's where it gets like the interesting thing because Cameron Diaz character at the beginning is all for it. And then it's kind of she switches and starts having guilt about this. And is like, really, can we do this? And then it comes to a head when they have this teenage girl there who doesn't believe in having sex education. And they're wanting to kill her too. And Cameron Diaz is like, she's just a kid.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess to go all the way, because then you have Ron Perlman's character who is like a Rush Limbaugh back then, right? A shock jock, but like ultra conservative talk head. And they happen stance upon him and they invite him to dinner. And then it's like totally flips the script because then he's like this charming guy that's like, hey, no, I don't really believe in all that stuff I say. I'm more of a middle ground. Because that's where politics should be. It should be ran by the people in the middle, not the ultra right or the ultra left. And then yeah. So, what did you think?
Yeah, it's I mean there's so much there. I'll circle back to that the Ron Perlman ending part of it. The there's the thing about this movie is there you can feel what they are trying to do, right? They're trying to show you an error in a way in thought processes, right? They're trying to show you that these people that are doing the killing are looking at things the wrong way, but then the people that they're killing are obviously looking at things the wrong way, but that doesn't mean you can just kill them for it because that's how you see their characters start to change, right? They realize as they get deeper into um because it's like nine people by the time they're almost done, right? Or nearing the end of it, they've already killed nine different people. But the when you talk about the younger girl that comes in, that's really interesting because now you start to see how thin the line gets of you know who they what they're going to kill or not, right? It's like there's not really as big of a reason because you're talking about the first one, Bill Paxton's character. He's saying wild stuff, like he's very offensive. He's talking about Nazi stuff and white supremacy stuff and all that stuff and really extreme right conservative stuff. And I'm not saying that good or bad, and there's no reason to talk about killing anybody, but the thing is like they slowly, I guess, start going away from the original values that they were doing it for, or the reason that they were doing it, right? And it just becomes to, you don't agree with me at all, okay, well, that means this person's got to die. And so that's where it gets really wild. And some of the characters, um man, I think what's his name? Courtney B. Vance.
Yeah.
Dude, his character, like, he's so dark in the whole process. He's just about killing everybody, and he's the one that comes up with basically though the idea of like burying them and just getting rid of them. But then he like kills the sheriff,
Yeah.
and now you're like, okay, now everything's going downhill. The sheriff's already out there investigating, and I think Cameron Diaz does a really good job, portraying her role of because she's playing the role that makes the change, right? Or the one of the because she's going to call the cops, and things like that, and she stopped them from killing the young girl, and basically, wanted to end it. So she played that transition really well. But they're
Well, they
just so wild,
Annabeth Gish went like the opposite.
right?
At the beginning, she's all like, "We can't be doing this," and then it becomes like sexual to her.
Right. Yeah, and then what's his name? Ron Ellard
Yeah.
or Eldard, whatever his name is. He is just hilarious throughout the whole movie. It's really interesting too, though, to try to figure out what the writers are really like trying to tell you in the movie. Because, like I was saying, it shows like that they're obviously super far left. The Last Supper, the group is, but then they keep bringing in people who are extreme right or very conservative in their thinking. But it kind of gives you a power struggle in your own mind of trying to figure out who's right and who's wrong as they're going through those.
Well, and that's why I think Ron Perlman's character at the end, that's where he brings you in, and you're like, "Hey,
Right.
both of these are unhealthy. The middle is where you should be."
Yeah, and that's what, ultimately circling back to that, when you mentioned that at the beginning, he they bring him in there because they think he's this conservative. He's on TV and he's doing all that. But he not only does he flip it on them, but he also like kind of shows them their shortcomings too, right? He's like, here's my shortcomings, here's what I'm doing wrong, and I don't really think this way. But the most important message I think in that movie was by having extreme right and having extreme left, you're creating a bunch of middle people. You're creating middle people because you're so extreme. You're pushing people towards the middle and away from those extreme values that you want to have. And that it was a great messaging there by him at the end. And I think Ron Perlman did a great job of delivering on that part, on that role. So it's a wild movie though, man. I gotta tell you, I started watching it and Holly's just like, what is this movie? Like, what is going on? And I'm watching it going, I don't know. Like it's getting pretty crazy, but it's a fun watch though. That even though there's a lot of political of nature stuff and a lot of people that might get offended in this day and age. But it's still a fun watch. It's still a comedy in the end. Like it's very dark. It's a black comedy, but it's it's good. It's funny.
Well, and then I mean, the people, their roles were so hyper, like exaggerated too.
Yeah. Which I think was done on purpose, right? I think that's what I think the point ultimately what I got out of it was they purposely hyper exaggerated not only the liberal and the extremists, the right wing extremists and then the liberal extremists. I think they overly exaggerated on purpose. And it just made for really like it was funny at times, it was weird at times, it was dark, it really had it all. Like it was a good movie. So that's 1995 Last Supper. So three movies that we reviewed here. Cameron Diaz was Last Supper, 1995, 1999, being John Malkovich, in 2014, The Other Woman. But just in general, as we wrap up Cameron Diaz week, you mean you got to talk about some of the other great ones, right? You mentioned The Mask, which is one of the first early ones. She came out in a different way in that one, but uh, Something About Mary, we've talked about on the podcast many times. It's been in a few of my top fives for different genres and eras.
That's got to be her best movie.
Yeah, I guess if you got to look at it as a whole, there probably for her isn't a better movie than Something About Mary because she really, like you were saying, you see a lot of her amazing timing. She's funny. She's not just, nice to look at on film.
And then, like one that me and my wife have watched a bunch, and it's just one of those just to watch night and day. Is
Yeah, that's Tom Cruise, right?
yep.
And there's a couple like then there's some other ones in there like Gangs of New York and The Holiday and My Best Friend's Wedding, Any Given Sunday, where even sometimes she's not the necessarily a main role, but she's with some big actors too. She holds her own in all those roles. Like I don't really see her overshadowed a lot on screen.
Yeah, I thought for sure Wes would go Gangs of New York. Is what I
Yeah, well, I was thinking Gangs of New York or Any Given Sunday for sure.
um one Jim also, and this is another weird one, but it's a rom-com, was A Life Less Ordinary with Ewan McGregor and her.
Yep,
Then there's What to Expect When You're Expecting.
that's a great one too. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there. Like I said, My Best Friend's Wedding will always be one of my favorite. But you're paired with Julia Roberts in that one, who does a great job too. So that was a really good pair of the two. Bad Teacher, you mentioned that one. That's funny. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. I think. And Shrek, right?
Yeah, can't forget Shrek.
Can't
Yeah.
forget Shrek. There's another one that was I was thinking about. Oh man, now that I just said Shrek, I just lost it. Let's see. It'll come back to me, but it's the ones like it's like Shrek too. Like you don't even think about her in that, but it wouldn't Shrek wouldn't be the same without her playing the princess.
Right. Well, they also when Charlie's Angels.
Oh, Charlie's Angels, that's what it was. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I was thinking of. Where again, that feels like she did a great job without being overshadowed in the on the set. All right, well, we'll wrap up weekly movie review there. We'll have some shorts out, but if you're watching the actual podcast of the reviews, don't forget to leave comments. Any
give us
actors,
ideas of
actresses, what's up?
give us ideas of who else to.
Yeah, no, that's we would love to get some additional ideas. Leave them in the comments. Maybe I'll even short this part of it and see if people will give us some movie reviews. So, all right, well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.